So I want to focus in a little bit more on the security, because we know that it has been beefed up in Durban as the anti-undocumented immigration groups plan to march amid the summit that's taking place. March and March, as well as Operation Dudula activists, are planning to march in the city to express their grievances over undocumented foreign nationals to the regional leaders meeting in the Durban ICC. Samkele Maseko is on that story for us. Samkele, how are things looking?
Well, Leanne, we are going to be hearing from the opening address from the president. It was a bit difficult to hear you there because of the communication breakdown between ourselves and the studio. But I am with Mzwandile Mbeja, the political editor at the SABC. Mr. Mbeja, just the essence of the migration issue is going to be a huge issue, particularly for this Leaders Summit. We do know that there are planned marches by March on March, going from City Hall, going to the South Beach. Just the migration issue. Can you just please speak to us on it?
I think what the president will do, Samkele, he will use the opportunity to really explain some of the developments that have happened in the country, particularly in relation to the migration. You know, there are many issues. Of course, the kind of posture, the public posture he will project in public will be different from what he's going to be telling his colleagues inside, because this matter is with us now, and at some point it needs to be resolved. If you are talking about regional integration, so there has to be everyone taking their part and taking their responsibility. And I think the president will reiterate that to say, yes, South Africa at the moment is faced with this challenge, but it can't solve it alone, because it's the problem that is created from across the continent. So I am seeing the president who in public platform will say, as South Africa we care and we are able to live with everybody, which is actually true, because if you look at the number of foreigners that are in the country, but of course the issue of then having to regulate whoever is here will come out very, very tops in the summit, other than the other issues that will be dealt with relating to regional integration. Because, I mean, there will be no proper regional integration if there are sticking issues where people actually of the same family are not even able to agree on.
If you look at this regional integration, particularly same family members not sticking on the same issue, there was a huge issue yesterday, particularly around Eswatini and the other member states of SADC, saying that they don't particularly feel safe with Eswatini not declaring certain aspects with their relationship with the United States of America, putting the other countries in danger, looking at their own sovereignty of those particular states.
That is another issue that SADC needs to really be able to deal with, as much as a region. So we have to work together and cooperate. But the fact, Samkele, that there is what you call sovereignty, so where countries need to take the decision that are in the interest of their own countries. When you look at this issue of those convicts being brought to Swaziland, obviously as a region, I mean, people will get scared. But then Swaziland would say, so given the kind of bilateral agreements it has with the US, it is benefiting Swaziland. So then how do you deal with that? Because as a country from SADC, you can't then tell another country what to do. But you can talk about what is best for the region. But sometimes what is best for the region may not necessarily be the best for what is happening in the individual countries. That's why the issue of migration in South Africa is very particular. And that issue of those people that are being brought to Swaziland is actually very interesting. And then how do you then overcome that? Because every time, I was even saying this earlier, every time we've had these SADC summits, so some of the issues keep recurring themselves. So they need to find a way of some sort of commonality. I mean, look at the other example in relation to Swaziland. It's one of the only countries really that doesn't have a relationship with China. Not that everyone has to have a relationship with China in the way everyone is, but the fact that a country will at times prioritize their interests over the region, so will always create that sort of tension.
I looked at a piece that was written by former Director General in the Department of Home Affairs, who's also the chairperson of the board of the BMA, Mavuso Msimang, speaking about the economic base of SADC countries, and particularly noting that people will migrate from Malawi because there is no irrigation system for them to plant maize. People will move away from Zimbabwe because there is no electricity to work the land within that particular country, which speaks about domestic socio-economic issues of those countries needing to be resolved first before people migrate to other countries, saying that South Africa is employing a policing tactic that is unsustainable when it comes to the issue of migration.
I think that's where accountability amongst member states matters most, because all you have to do as the region, if you want some sort of integration, so just ensure that at least there is some sort of same level or similar level of development in those countries, so that there's no pull effect. Look at how EU, for example, is structured. I mean, when you walk from Belgium to Netherlands, you don't even see that you are in another country, or even France. Why? Because the level of development is at the same level, but it's different with Africa and the region. So people will always want to go to the greener pastures. So where accountability matters is when these leaders sit inside there and talk about integration. You just don't talk, but say, what is it? For example, those issues about irrigation. What is it that Malawi, Zambia, or Zimbabwe can be helped so that it reaches the similar level of South Africa? So we are able to deal with these things. As long as they speak about it and then don't do much about it, so this problem will never go away. But once they get inside there, they call each other out, there's accountability, we'll see some sort of development and progress.
Just to quote Dr. Mr. Mavuso Msimang, he says that they crossed because there is no power to run a welding machine in Bulawayo, no irrigation to plant maize in rural Malawi, and no factory work to be found in Bira. We are, in short, attempting to police our way out of a development problem. It is expensive, it is inhumane, particularly looking at the inhumane nature of this migration issue. We're going to try and speak to Dr. Maseko of the BMA later on during the course of the day. How sticky is this issue, particularly of the inhumanity of moving individuals from one country to another on this migration issue, particularly those that are undocumented in South Africa?
You see, the problem is actually very big, because as South Africa, for example, our foreign policy is anchored on human rights. So whatever we do, we have to respect the rights of other people. But at the same time, we are the country of laws. Those laws must be implemented, must be respected. So in situations where you are not able to stick to this, so somehow citizens, as you have seen, will take matters into their own hands. I think what needs to happen really, from what you have just quoted, so what is stopping, for example, countries like Zimbabwe from investing in building those factories? With the assistance of their colleagues, with the know-how of their colleagues, that's what you do. Because if that doesn't happen, you then will have what they call pull and push factors. So those pull factors that will be pulling people to South Africa, so people will continue to come. But those who are in South Africa may feel overwhelmed. And remember, if then your reaction is to get whoever is here out, how you do it becomes another matter. It then goes into exactly what you are saying. It may seem inhumane because at some point, those that will do it may not necessarily have in mind what the constitution or the laws of our country are saying. But the fact of the matter is that the countries, all of them, need to call each other out, need to develop, and then need to enforce their laws. Once we are able to deal with all of these things, so what we are speaking about will not even matter.
So essentially, we will definitely be looking at issues of DFIs, direct foreign investments into countries, particularly on the building of infrastructure within these countries. We've seen Operation Dudula when South Africa, and having rail interlocutor, bringing these particular nations together in exploring issues of exportation and exports within these countries.
In fact, the interesting thing is that when you look at the part of the agenda and some of the agreements that are expected to be agreed upon here, all those issues are being looked at. The question is it just talking about it or is it implementing it?
Thank you very much, Mzwandile Mbeje. That is our political editor here at the SABC. Peace and stability, the theme of this particular SADC summit, but you cannot have peace and stability without economic activity within these various member states of SADC, of the Southern African Development Community. The sovereignty of these particular nations becomes also paramount of importance, particularly looking at the Eswatini issue and those who are coming from the United States of America who are former convicts and going to Eswatini. SADC member states were very uncomfortable and wanted Eswatini to denounce that particular matter. You've had Eswatini calling those heads of states, King Mswati calling those heads of states, having engagements with them yesterday, refusing to denounce that particular aspects because of the relationship that Eswatini has with the United States of America. The issue of migration is going to be very topical, and it's going to be a very thorny issue in this particular discussions of these leaders today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Samkele. Fantastic coverage here by the SABC. If you want to know anything about this, this is the channel to stay with. So that's where we'll leave this extended news bulletin, with a very big focus on that SADC heads of country meeting that will be taking place today.